Hey, welcome back to our channel. This is a year of magical learning, aka YOML. So we are on YOML 138, book 138. And today we want to talk about the new science of a lost art. And I'll let Chris reveal the secret.
Yeah. All right. So this book we're going to be talking about today is called Breath by the author James Nestor. The subtitle is A New Science of a Lost Art. This book's about breathing. It's about kind of the history of breathing. It's about humanity and why we breathe. A lot of different trials and studies and things like that, psychology and biology, a lot of experimentation and autoimmune diseases, why modern day we've evolved to do what we do today. Just kind of all a deep dive into the history of breathing for humans, how our facial structures have evolved, how life has evolved around breathing. This particular book, what was your thoughts on the book? Like, did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
I love it. I think is a lot of people, and I think the subtitle is relevant in my mind because for me, I come from a more of a Oriental background. So for me, my belief is that breathing is our only control that we have that actually can influence our involuntary system. That's the only channel for you to control your heartbeat, for example.
No, hey, don't ruin my reflection.
Oh, you ask.
No, you enjoyed the book though, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right. So I also really enjoyed this book.
I enjoy it because I think it's valid.
Yeah, and I learned a lot actually. So my reflection title on this one is I have a theory. This book made me think a little bit deeper and combined a few different things together for me to formulate this theory that I want to share with y'all. So first off, this book kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. It was very similar to like a Why We Sleep, right? Like there's two fundamental things in this world where, that we do all day, every day of our life, we sleep, and every day of our life, we breathe all day. Right. And these are probably two of the things that I knew nothing about. I mean, in terms of the why behind it, science behind it, how that's evolved, like the history of it, I just don't know it. I didn't know anything. Like, I mean, I've never, ever even thought to look into it. And it was just one of those, like, face palm, like, books that you read and you're like, shit, like breathing is really important. Like sleeping is really important. This is like, there was some revelation in my own head, but it was just one of these books where I was like, well, son of a bitch, I should have been learning about this a long time ago, which is actually funny because I don't know if you remember, we were talking a few months back when I was reading that Think Like a Monk book. And the first thing that they teach, do you know what the first thing is? They teach students at the age of, how to breathe. That's the first thing. They're like, that's the only thing that's fundamental to everything, and you do it all day long. If you can figure that out, you can figure out a lot of things. That's the first thing that they teach students when they're like 5 years old, is how to breathe. And I was like, well, you're right. From an Oriental perspective, they definitely have a different take on breathing and how it connects just our universe around us.
It's all right. There is no rules.
Yeah.
Well, it's about trying to express to our audience what we mean by our lessons for the day.
So
as long as we can make that clear, I think we have done a great job.
Exactly. Well, I'm jumping ahead in the reflections. For me personally, like breathing in general, I've told you about this before. Like I work out a lot. I probably run like 3 to 5 miles a day. I play tennis at least 2 to 3 times a week. But these days I probably play pickleball once a week. I do like HIIT workouts a couple times a week or something like that. I do a lot of physical activity and physical exertion, and I constantly have struggled with my breathing. I can run pretty fast and pretty far, but like it doesn't change the fact that like for the longest time, it feels like my nose is just pouring snot whenever I'm outside running, and it feels like just my allergies. I feel like I'm allergic to everything. I went to go get an allergy test a couple years ago, and my back lit up with like allergies to everything under the freaking sun. I have an autoimmune disease because I'm a celiac. A lot of these things, I mean, I don't know if there's a connection to it, but this book talked a lot about it. And it's been something for me for like a decade that I've been trying to figure out. Breathe better when I'm exercising because it drives me nuts, and it's something I know that limits my own workouts and something I've always been kind of cognizant of, but I've never really done a lot of research into it until starting on this journey. And this book was one of those big steps toward it. So after reading this book, actually, that started me down a road of doing a monthly challenge of breathing. And it did help. Like, I mean, breathing exercises for a month, and it helped. And now I do those Wim Hof things that I just did it right before this. I wasn't really even thinking about it, but I just did because that's what I do every day now. But all said, like I still have some issues. I still have some congestion and nasal drainage and stuff like that whenever I'm running outside, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was before. And I know that I'm kind of on the right path, I guess, at least toward trying to figure out how to fully break through with this kind of stuff. And I know that I'll figure it out someday eventually, but that's kind of where it led me to this, my theory. So here's the rabbit hole this whole book made my brain go down. You remember the book by Bill Bryson, The Body, where we learned about, you have 1 billion heartbeats. The average mammal, no matter how big or small they are, they average about 1 billion beats over their lifetime. Larger mammals, like elephants, their heartbeats are really slow. They actually don't have huge heartbeats. And it really has a lot to do with like body warmth and amount of fat, stuff like that, as to keeping yourself warm, like a little mouse, their heartbeats like 600 times a minute, kind of thing. So they burn through their billion heartbeats really, really fast. Well, so here's my theory, right? Early on in humanity, there was these really smart people that were messing around with their breathing, and they figured out that connection between your breath and your heartbeat. And they were like, man, this is, they didn't call it meditation or whatever they wanted to call it. They were just breathing and noticing that when I control my breath, like I can control my heart rate, I can control other things. And all of a sudden, these people started to live longer, and people started to go, man, what are those people doing over there? What do they know that I don't know? So then they started coming to them, and they're like, yeah, man, it's like I do this breathing stuff, and I'm living longer. And other people started to go, well, shit, if all these people are doing this stuff, let's just follow along with that. And then that ultimately became like meditation or something like that. And then meditation grew around, culture started to grow around these things. And then you had structure like religion and philosophies and all this other stuff. And now you had like Buddhism, or now you have like whatever. And it all started from trying to make sure that your heart rate was staying as slow as possible by controlling your breath. And then we built all this amazing other stuff around it to like continue to enhance on that, to try to always, at the end of the day, it's to control the heart rate, to live healthier, to live longer, and keep that heart as strong as you possibly can. And it all is because of breathing. And like, this is my theory. So like I said, I finished this reflection off of saying, I don't know anything, because I don't know anything, but like, this is my theory, and I'm sticking to it for now until somebody tells me otherwise. But I think the religion and philosophy and Buddhism and a lot of these other things that have spun up have been exactly because of breathing and controlling your heart rate. Tell me I'm wrong or right.
I mean, I think you're right. It seems to align with the observation that we see. If you look at most of the lifespan of an animal, like you look at the lifespan of a rat, right? We know that a rat has 600 beats per minute.
Right.
And its lifespan isn't as long as, let's say, a human on an average, right?
What is that? Yeah. It's 60 to 100 beats per minute.
So 70 to 80, which is right in the middle, because that's the right? Because when you sleep, you should be around 60 to 70. But
Right.
when you're doing the day, you should be from 80 to 90. And when you are doing your workout, you go from 120 to 140, right? The heartbeat of a rat. So
Right.
therefore, we should have at least 6 times the span of a rat.
It is a black rat. It's 12 months, 2 years. It looks like
Right.
2 years.
6 times.
2 to
So-
4 years. Yeah.
Right. So we need to go at least 60 times.
Yeah.
600 divided by 80.
600 divided by 80 is 7.5.
So that's an average, right? So rat lives from 2 to 4 years. So let's say 3 times 7, whatever. So that's essentially, we're talking about in the 50 and 60, and that should be the.
We're talking about a mouse, by the way. Heartbeat 600. That's the 310 to 840 or whatever.
3
Yeah.
years. You have to count in the other factors, because human has other advantages, meaning we have the ability to have better medical care. We can treat ourselves with everything else equal. We should have 7 or 8 times the lifespan of a rat.
Right.
And you look at it from that perspective, right? It's kind of true in that sense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to affect in other stuff. You look at a heartbeat of a turtle, right? The heartbeat of a turtle is actually like much lower than the humans, like in 30s or somewhere.
Average turtle. 25.
25, right?
Right.
Mostly. You can't like take like one turtle and say, hey, they still only live like 2 years. But most turtles in the ocean, they live, a long time. So basically, you can see some evidence, and there's not really an apple comparison because there's other factors that contributes to the lifespan as well. But the heartbeat, in terms of its trend, it is supporting the fact that we have approximately, a set number of heartbeats
Right.
in our lifespan. And I think if somebody is able to lower the heartbeats,
Mhm.
then they should be able to have a little bit more than reserve for a longer life. And so to me, that makes sense. It's not fact for me at the moment, but essentially, like you say, it's a theory. And I think a theory, it makes sense so far. It doesn't contradict what we observe. I mean, until we can find other evidence. But at the moment, I think if you can, I mean, right now, if you have a heartbeat that is like 100 or 150, right? What do you think your health condition would be if your heartbeat is at 150?
Not good.
Exactly. That means
Yeah.
that how long do you think you can live? Because if you're not healthy, how long do you expect to live? So that's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
evidence, it is supporting this theory.
Yeah. And I mean, I really do think that like people saw people living longer and they were like, what are you doing? And they're like, well, I just breathe, and I do some controlled breathing or something like that. I really think it was that easy.
Yeah,
I know
it's
meditation,
but like I said, there's many other factors involved because let's say you're stressed out, your heartbeat is gonna be like in the 90s, right? Breathing is something that I think, for me, there's three most important things that the first one is breathing, the second one is sleep, and third one is having quality H2O.
I have not read this book yet.
So those are three fundamental that I think that we need to make sure we take back the control and not take it for granted. Because people are like, I want to be like these billionaires that wake up early and I sleep only 4 hours. You just, I think you're confused, right? Most people need to have an optimal brain to be creative, the most optimal. Because I truly believe that if you sleep 4 hours and you can be creative, you can be even more creative when you sleep 8 hours. Or the four sleeping needs that your body must have, right? Whatever it is. And it may be different for you, maybe different for other people, but it's essentially you have to satisfy that need to fully give your brain the 100% it needs to do the task that you want to do, whether it's to run a business or to do whatever. There are many other factors like the capacity of a person, their background, the experiences, their combinations of the skills and whatnot, and that makes them who they are. But I guarantee you say, well, I'm pretty good at this, but I say you can be better if you are optimal with your three things, right? Your breathing, your sleeping, and your hydration.
I got to read a book about it. I was wondering, when you talk about like the 4 hours of sleep of people and stuff like that, nobody ever talks about if they nap like 2 times a day. I don't know how you could ever operate. I feel like you would just get sick and break down eventually.
For me, there is two things you have to have in sleep. The first thing is you have to have a deep sleep. That means that it requires at least 3 hours sleep. That means you need at least 3 hours. Most people need 3 hours. The deep sleep cycle is required for you to repair anything that is left unrepaired during the day. When you stress out and your body run and it doesn't have the time to repair and to clean up, you have to have the deep sleep, okay? The second one is called a REM sleep. The REM sleep, it can go from, so after the 3 hours, it can go from like another 3 to 5 hours. That's a total of 8 hours. In a REM sleep, this is where your memory is actually working, right? So you're talking about the first 3 hours, 3 to 5 actually. So 3 is a minimum. 3 hours minimum for you to do repair. If you're not, like let's say you stressed out or you have a flu or so your brain is actually tell your body to go and repair things in those 3 hours. So you don't repair those, your body is going to become weak. Your health physically become weak. The second part of the REM sleep is where your eyes has rapid eye movement called REM, right? So that part is where your brain is actually storing the memory it has for the day previous. Like you're talking about your son Luca learning how to walk right before sleep, so that's going to entrench into his memory. It's going to get real index, and it's going to make him able to remember things much easier and much better, and be more creative. And all the creativity and all the ideas that I have during the day, it's going to coalesce into something more meaningful. So those things are essential. So you are looking at least 5 to 6 hours in a straight line. You cannot say, I'm going to sleep 2 hours. It's not. No, that doesn't work. I'm sorry, but that does not work, because look at the scientific study with the sleep. You have to have this full cycle. If you interrupt the cycle, you're not finished house cleaning. So I don't think naps is a replacement for having a short sleep cycle. Nap is good during the day to kind of give you that boost of energy, but it's not a replacement.
I
long
agree
sleep
with that.
cycle.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So it's not like you can just add it. No, but all right, fair point. So do you have any recommendations on water books? Because I know I read that charity water book. It actually reminded me of the only books I've ever read about water. Well, I read a book about rain. So I learned about water there. And then that charity water book, which is all about dirty water, basically, and you know, building wells and stuff like that. And then the final book that actually, you know, ironically was around a little bit about water was the history of the world in 6 glasses. The reason why we drink so much alcohol throughout history was because water was shitty. It was
Yeah, the only way to get the pasteurized water is to drink alcohol. That's why alcohol become popular. It's not because they like it. It's because water was infested with bacteria. And when you drink water, you get sick and you die. And alcohol is a way to disinfect it.
Right. So the irony of that whole book, he wrote at the very end of it, he was like, if I'm going to make this book in 100 years, it'll probably actually be, you know, water as, you know, one of those history of the world in 6 glasses kind of, you know, things, because now for the first time ever, we do have the ability to, you know, to manufacture clean water. I mean, regularly and have it pretty much on tap for the majority of the world, not everybody, but I mean,
it's quality water.
Right. Exactly. So no, I'm kind of curious now to learn about what is quality water to you.
Well, I don't have a book that come across, and I have been looking, but throughout my life, you know, I always feel like water is important because I think this is something people take for granted. So for me, it's either we find a book that can elucidate what we meaning to say.
What about Water, a biography? Water 4.0, the past, the present, and the future, the world's most vital resource. That looks good.
And that's probably for businesses, it's not for personal needs. I think for me, my perspective is personal need. You need water because our brains are actually 80% water. Even more than that, it's water and fat. Okay. And without the water, you're not operating at the most optimal level. You're just not. So water, clean water is most important because if you drink in water is not clean, for example, then the pollutants that, you know, is in the water, the body's going to have to shed some resources to get rid of the pollutants. So you want to drink quality water so that it doesn't have to do that work, and it allow you to have more capacity to do your you know, the beautiful ideas, your most creative questions, and whatever it is makes you who you are. So I think you want to give your body is like the Ferrari, okay? You don't want to put no E89 in it, all right? You don't want to ethanol mix or gasoline in it. You want the premium, okay? Right. You want a premium in your Ferrari. You don't want to mess it up. So,
you know, I've actually heard that from like professional athletes, like LeBron James and a few other people. They swear by Fiji water. They only will drink Fiji water because of the alkaline nature of it or whatever. They swear it adds like performance boosting to their, you know, whatever.
This is different for me. From my perspective, it's more for the brain than for the body. Yes, the body has it, but the brain needs it more. The body can be improved with the alkaline water, but the brain actually is more important. And sports, you know, most sports, they use it for physical benefits. Versus in my case is I'm looking at water optimally for the optimal performance of the brain, because we are supposedly thinkers, right? Imaginations are human superpower, and I want to make sure I utilize that superpower to its fullest, because we got to walk the talk. We learned the lessons that, you know, we have a superpower that we're underutilized. So right now we have to figure out how do we use our superpower even more. Just like we talked about yesterday, if you love to talk, figure out how to talk more by, you know, shut up and listen for a while so you can figure out how to talk more. So same thing with this reflection is how can you make something more by doing things that you've learned in the past? Like, for example, breathing, right? Breathing is actually going to give your brains a chance to...
Yeah, it matters. I feel it, you know, a lot. I feel energized after I do the Wim Hof breathing stuff. Honestly, I know for a fact, the first few weeks that I've been started doing the Wim Hof stuff, like it felt like my heart was going to explode after I got done with it. I remember telling this guy I was playing a tennis match against, it felt like there was something like right here in my chest. I could just feel throbbing, like up my neck. Like, and I was like, this just felt weird. Like all day for like the first week or two after I started doing it, because it was stressing my heart so much and it was just pumping so hard. And it took like, I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, if I like strained a muscle or something, but either way, it was weird feeling. And now, honestly, when my heart rate, I don't monitor it closely, but I know it doesn't spike near as much anymore whenever I'm going on a long distance, for whenever I'm playing tennis, or even when I'm doing these breather exercises anymore. I mean, I used to feel my heart just pounding in my chest after I would do the quick, fast breathing with the Wim Hof stuff and then hold my breath. I could feel it. Like, just, it felt like, I mean, I used to put my hand on my chest and like just hold it there, and I would feel like just like like just super fast. Now, like I don't even feel it anymore when I'm breathing fast, or when I have to go way longer now, like a lot more breathe. I mean, it's interesting because it really has trained my heart to be, I feel like way stronger in terms of how it's powering my body and my mind and my own kind of energy and clarity and stuff like that.
Right, but you try your breathing. So breathing, for a fact, I know for a fact, that can influence your heart rate. It can influence your state of mind. Those two things I know for sure, because so meditations is one way, right? Basically, your chaotic mind, right? And you can calm your mind by breathing. You can also raise your heart by breathing. So one of the Wim Hof method to get your body to start to prepare for something is you breathe as if you're hyperventilating. That raises your heartbeat, guaranteed. You breathe like you're hyperventilating, and you will guarantee to increase your heartbeat. You can breathe in a way that you can lower your heartbeat. So, for example, if you breathe in and you breathe out longer, let's say breathe in for 2 seconds and breathe out for 3 seconds or 4 seconds or 6 seconds or more, right? The differences in the in-breathing and out-breathing will actually lower or raise your heartbeat. If you breathe out longer than you breathe in, you actually lower your heartbeat.
Yeah.
If you breathe out shorter than you breathe in, then you're going to increase your heartbeat. So when you hyperventilate, you actually breathe in more than you breathe out.
Right. Your body get rid of the.
So when you breathe in more, it's actually going to compress your heart, and your heart gets compressed, and your lungs compressed, and your heart say, "Hey, I need more," so it's going to start pumping. And so you think about it, you do those things. There's two main elements or main functions in your body: is your brain and your heart. And you can influence. The only way to influence those two heart is by breathing.
Third one. Don't forget about the digestive system. We're forgetting about all the bacteria in the I contain
Second
multitudes.
Brain, yes.
But yeah.
Did we do the second brain yet?
I don't think I've ever read that book. Is that a book?
No, the octopus. Remember that book?
Oh, the Other Minds.
The Other Minds. Yes.
I don't think we did that one yet.
I don't remember, but basically there is a gut feeling. When you have a gut feeling, I mean, your second brain is saying your primary brain, "Hey, I sense something," right?
For
and
sure.
So the other mind explains how the evolutionary split in terms of one tree branch goes to the human tree branch, and the other one goes to octopus, where we share that commonality. And octopus has the brains in the stomach, and so we have a brain in the stomach as well. It's just that it's a secondary one that we don't use as the main central unit.
I mean, I don't know about that.
That's a theory.
Honestly, there's so much going on in your gut. There's a whole life going on in there that has nothing, like the whole vagus nerve and all that other stuff connecting. If that's not healthy, your brain is not. When you're full, I can't think about shit. My brain is so foggy because it's
right, and it's your second brain. It's still going to affect your primary brain. Right, and it tells you something. If you feel like you're tingling sensations, right, your gut actually can receive those signals, and when it receives a signal, it's trying to tell your brain, which is your primary brain in your head, about something. So you sense a sense of uneasy.
So another thing I think why people started fasting was because they could breathe better. Because every time that I fucking I'm doing my challenge for the intermittent fasting this month. Every time that I do my breathing, I've noticed whenever I have like an empty stomach, or I'm on a somewhat of a fasted state, I guess, with at least 10 to 12 hours or something like that without any food, I can breathe way clearer, and I can hold my breath way longer, at least 30% longer on average than I do when my stomach's full. Like I just did. So I'm stopping eating at like 6 o'clock right now for the whole intermittent fasting thing or whatever. And I did my breathing exercises around like 8 o'clock for the Wim Hof stuff, and my stomach was pretty full still. And honestly, my average was way lower than normal. And I knew it going into it, because it's just not like, I know whenever my stomach is really full, like I just cannot breathe as deeply and breathe as effectively and all this other stuff. So once again, it goes back to religions. You know, a lot of religions have a lot of fasting involved in it to breathe better, to control your heart rate better, and they live longer. And then all of a sudden, you know, people keep coming up to them and they're like, what are you guys doing over there? We're like, well, we're just trying this like fasting thing, you know, because I feel like we can breathe a little better. And then all of a sudden they're like healthier, living longer lives. And people are like, there's something going on here, you know, and then more people come to it. And then all of a sudden you build this culture around it, and then you build the rules around it. And then you have what we have today. And we're like, well, yeah, you just fast because that's what you're supposed to do. You know, you meditate because you breathe. You need to breathe. This is all about the heart, the gut, the fasting, the breathing. Religion is all about this stuff of getting your heart rate to live longer. And maybe we're happier and healthier when we live longer. This has got to be like, it all just makes too much sense.
You don't have to swear to me.
Yeah.
I know, I get you. You're right. I completely agree. I don't disagree at all. So it's amazing what we can do, what we control that we don't think we have control over. A lot of times we think, you know, hey, this is something that is beyond my control. I don't think I can lower my heart rate. I don't think I can
or use drugs.
Better hold my breath, for example. I mean, you're talking about holding your breath for a long, long time, right? 6 minutes is really long. Like nobody still
you can't do that. No, that's not possible. You can't hold your breath for 6 minutes. Like that's not. I don't think you would die. I mean, I think like the.
It's like they say, no one can run a sub 4 minute mile. Right?
I don't think you can actually do that though.
Are you serious, Chris?
No
Are you
way.
serious?
What?
6 minutes is like the minimum entry for a Navy SEAL.
6 minutes? They can hold their breath for 6 minutes?
Minimum.
What?
Yes. If you cannot hold your breath for 6 minutes, you cannot enter into the training for the Navy
No
SEAL.
way. Wait, how long can Tom Cruise hold his breath for? It's just 6 minutes. No fucking
Tom
way.
Cruise can do it. You're just joking, right?
No, I'm not. I thought like after 4 minutes you went brain.
That's what I say. It's impossible to run a sub 4 minute, right? Everybody thinks that sub minute is not possible. And no one did it until somebody broke the 4 minute mile. Then everybody started breaking records over and over and over again.
That's crazy. I had no idea you could do that.
Well, now you do.
Tom Cruise is a pretty healthy guy. I have a weird sneaking suspicion that that little bastard will live until he's like 125 or something like that, you know, and we're going to all look around and go, I wonder why. And he's going to go, well, it's Scientology, you know, that's why, you know, because they build a religion around that, you know, I mean, that's what we do, man. When we think that we're onto something of living a happy, healthy life, we put structure around it, like kind of what we're trying to do with Clubany, you know, and then we build a culture around it. All of a sudden you're like, we're just two dudes that are exploring things that we don't understand. And, you know, lo and behold, like we might live a happier, healthier life. And people might go, wow, what's Chris and Drew doing? Well, you know, we're doing Clubany. Like, and they're like, what the hell is that? And you're like, well, we'll tell you. And all of a sudden you got more people flocking there. And in 1,000 years from now, people are going to go, well, yeah, it's like Clubany. Like, duh, that's what you do. I mean, that's what you just do.
Clubany, the religion.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, duh.
Like,
that's,
jeez, 1,000 years from now, our religion is Clubany. What happened to other religions?
Yeah. I mean, you're like, I mean, are we idiots? Like, I mean, that's what you just do. Like, that's just life, man. You know, and you're like, what are you talking about?
What do you mean?
Like, you know, yeah. There's got to be a reason behind this. And two idiots got on a podcast and started reading books and exploring stuff. You know, I feel better when I fast, and then when I can breathe more, and then when I can run longer, and then when I can do this, and I can control my heart rate.
Hold my breath for 2 minutes, and then 6 minutes, and then 12 minutes,
right?
And then 24 minutes, and sometimes, like you said, well, what's the maximum? Is it 30 minutes? Yeah, well, no one can do 30 minutes. Then somebody broke 30 minutes, then they go to like 35, 40 minutes, an hour.
I mean, I think that we're proving my point of my theory of like, you know, where religion and philosophies come from. I think it's just people exploring how to.
It's observation, observation throughout the ages, and then
learning
observation becomes a thing we pass on from person to person. You know, we're talking about the genius versus an average person. Is the copying of the ideas that makes us who we are today. Some of these things we take for granted over the years, just because it becomes so pervasive, and it's with us every single minute of every single day. And people say it's nothing special, but it is. If you take away the breathing, you take away the water, right?
Right.
You take away the sleep, right? Just imagine, like, the worst punishment for anyone is to not let them sleep.
I agree. Solitary confinement.
I would rather take solitary confinement over lack of sleep.
You think so?
Yes. Because sleep is the most horrible punishment anyone could dish out. No water, no sleep,
Yeah, it's good.
right? And then no breathing. Take any one of those, right? You cannot survive.
That's actually funny. Do you remember in this book when he did that experiment where he like plugged his nose for like a month straight or whatever and just breathed through his mouth, and he was just like how miserable his life was? You remember that when he did this in this book?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Taking away breathing would be you're right, actually.
Breathing, take away sleep.
But I mean, we're so social creatures, though. That's a big part of it. So like,
yes, but what I'm saying, it is still important to be social.
Right.
But this is even a higher need. This is
I don't know. I think we could debate that one a little bit further because I'm not ready to concede
I will bet you can survive a month without anyone. Right? You can't survive more than a few days without water or without sleep. You will probably die, but in a
I don't disagree with you on the I would die faster without those.
Yes, have a higher need than the solitary.
I don't know that it's a higher need.
Month. It is higher. The three most highest need that you have.
I would argue it's lower. It's just a foundational element that yes, you need it.
What's the point? If it's foundational, that's the foundation.
Well, what's the point of life if you don't have human connection? Like, I mean, great.
Let's say stop you breathing for 1 hour, you will die.
If I put you next to like the nicest, cleanest lake in the history that's ever existed in this world, with the freshest air,
honestly,
by yourself for the rest of your life, it would. But you wouldn't have a happy life.
That's secondary. Survival first, then happiness comes second.
Well, what's the point of surviving if you're not going to be happy?
It's just you get to end yourself. You just can't do it.
I mean, that's true. Like, that's the endurance. You'll regret it if you drop out. Who knows what'll happen?
You just built that way. You can't do it. So it's not about whether it's worth it to live. It's like you already enter life. You can't just exit because you wanted to. It's hard. You have to have something that weighs more than like some kind of serious depressions or whatever that compels you to do it. But normally you wouldn't be able to do it.
Okay, you win this battle. I'll concede. But either way, I think, coming back to the book in general, it is really funny to draw the parallels of what we're trying to do with Clubany. And, it's funny that like you think about things like meditation and, we've talked about this and I know I talk about this in subsequent reflections going forward, but like the idea of meditation for me is like this big, long, daunting process of, having a big elephant Buddha behind me, pillows on the floor, sitting cross-legged, chanting Om, and straight back and, all these rules and whatever. And it's like, no,
consuming that.
Just do the stuff that we're supposed to do and go explore that. And don't get away from the first principles. That's what Clubany is based off of. That's what these conversations that you and I are having, that's what religions were founded on. I know for a fact that is what they were founded on. It is not what it looks like today. That's because humans do what we do best and we continue to put our imagination and structure, culture all around these things. But don't forget about the first principles of what we started from. And this is a really good book to remember and be reminded about the power of breathing. So I really enjoyed it. Any final thoughts on your end?
Keep breathing.
Yeah, keep breathing. Just breathe, motherfucker. Yeah. Awesome. All right, man. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. And the question we can leave for you is, how's the quality of your breathing? Something to think about. And if you don't like it, start exploring. Read a book, and see what you learn. And I'm going to read a book about water now. Thanks, Drew, for making me go find another new book about water.
Look for a good book and let me know.
I mean, it looks like Water 4.0 sounds good. So anyway, awesome. All right, well, we'll see you all tomorrow. And thanks for joining.
Yeah, good night.